Quantum Cosmos presents Certified Financial Guardian, a seal of ethical selling. Privileged to bring you Jimmy Patel. Jimmy is a veteran in the financial services industry with close to 26 years of experience. He's been the director on the AMFI board and also been a member of various AMFI and SEBI committees. Jimmy is the managing director and CEO of Quantum Mutual Fund and an associate director on the board of the AMC. Jimmy is a Chevening Standard Chartered Financial Services Leadership Fellow, having completed his leadership program at King's College London. He also has to his credit a degree in chartered accountancy and law. Jimmy is passionate about investor education. Jimmy, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
We'll discuss, is investment advisory practice under threat in a rapidly changing environment? So Quantum Mutual Fund was the first to launch a direct-to-investor platform. Of late, you're reaching out to distributors through Quantum Cosmos. Why? Why now? And what is the objective, and how will this initiative really benefit IFAs, distributors, and investors?
Thank you, Rounaq. Quantum, when it started in 2006, was the first direct-to-customer mutual fund. But there is a slight pedigree why it became direct-to-customer mutual fund during that time. During those days, there was not much of transparency in terms of what gets paid to a distributor by a fund house, and eventually the fund house were to recover it from the customer through cost, which we now call it as TER. The whole objective of Quantum was that these particular TER and commission should be as transparent as possible. It should get communicated to the customer by the distributor, such that a customer knows what he is paying for and why he is investing in a particular scheme, and easy investing in a scheme based on the objective of the scheme which matches with his objective, or he is investing in a scheme simply because the scheme is paying a higher commission. Unfortunately, those transparency did not exist during that time, but sometime in October 16, SEBI introduced a rule where commissions paid were to be disclosed in the common account statement that were being shared to the customers, and that brought the level of transparency that we were always hinting at. Post that, it became a right platform for Quantum to launch the regular plan, and we launched a regular plan in April 2017. Having launched a plan in April 2017, we understood what were the dilemma that were being faced by our partners in the distribution fraternity, and based on some survey, dipstick, and one-on-one meetings with them, we arrived at a conclusion that ethical selling or tools to enable a distributor or a partner to learn something new was missing. What was available was an NISM certification or a CFP, but there was nothing between an NISM or a CFP. That's where we thought that Certified Financial Guardian program or a certification will bridge the gap. It was a level notch above NISM certification, while incorporating the same rigmaroles of CFP certification, and this was one of the first of its kind initiative within the industry, which we launched last year. That was around Diwali time in November 2018. And when we launched this particular program, we also launched certain other advantages and certain other facilities for our partners, and we combined it and called it as Quantum Cosmos. This whole module incorporates CFG, as we just discussed. It was CFG is a 10-hour e-learning module with sessions on ethical selling, risk assessment, tax planning, retirement planning. Plus, it also offers one of its kind, a first time in the industry, peer level research, analysis, weekly analysis, reports, tools, plus a host of other benefits which we will keep building and adding over a period of time. Having said about CFG, in addition to CFG, we also had our own KYC module. So we enabled our partners to embark on doing KYC for our customers, for their customers, using an ARN embedded URL, which was being shared by us and developed by us and maintained by us. Besides that, we initiated modules whereby a partner can initiate a transaction and take approval of its customers and do a seamless online transaction. And we experimented something called a Q Cafe, which we rolled out in Bandra, Mumbai, where our partners can work, can meet customers, can hold meetings, and without paying any fee or without paying any charge, such that the partners have a lively atmosphere and environment to discuss their requirements or understand the requirements of the customer. Now, these are certain benefits or certain facilities which we have rolled out for our partners, and we hope that it will be well received in the industry and by our partners.
So when you talk to advisors, are they excited? Because the regulatory environment is getting quite demanding, challenging. And how are they taking that? So what is the sense they get?
If you were to look at the last 10 years, the 10 years has been a major regulatory change, and which is keeps on changing.
Right.
Now, saying that because of a regulatory change or because of a probability of a regulatory change over a period of time, can someone stop doing business, or can someone just stop advising or stop distributing? Probably not. Life has to go on. Regulators are there to make changes. Regulators are there to ensure that a customer's interest and the partner's interests are well protected. Regulators are there to ensure that the industry doesn't hoodwink, if I were to say that, the customers and the partners. So while the regulator has been doing a phenomenal job in ensuring and protecting the interests of the customers, but is the interest of the advisor community or the distributor fraternity protected? It's a mixed answer, yes and a no. Yes, in the sense seriousness is being brought into the play, in the sense that whoever is serious, not a fly-by-night, ethical in its dealing, understands the requirement of his customers, knows his customer well, and obviously most important and critical, embraces technology, they will survive. And no, because revenues are shrinking. And is shrinking of revenue the rationale for exiting out of the business or leaving the regulator? Probably not. Just if you were to step backwards, these kind of changes have been happening over the world at large. UK, Australia, the advanced markets per se, have slowly been moving from a investor or the manufacturer paid model to a investor paid model, which is called advisory or the RIA, registered investment advisory model. What happens to the distributor? The distributor here has to embrace technology, if I were to say that, because if we were to look at the McKinsey study, it says that in the next 10 years, the industry will grow at almost 18% year-on-year CAGR. Now, if 18% growth is assured, and there is increase in assets, there is increase in awareness thanks to Mutual Fund Sahiye campaign and other education campaigns, the pie or the share of investments in mutual funds is bound to increase. Now, if an investor were to increase his share allocation to mutual funds, obviously he will look at sound advice and a partner who can help him complete his investment. It's not easy for anybody and everybody to follow a DIT or a do-it-yourself kind of a model and invest in the direct plan. There would be investors who would look at advisors, who would look at distributors. There would be investors who would seek advice, who would look at distributors as their family friend or a family member, because traditionally we as Indians always look at advisors as a family member, and there is a loyalty attached to it. Now, to continue with that loyalty, a distributor has to be serious, has to be ethical, has to be transparent, has to share out where he is earning his revenue. Is he advising a product simply because to earn a higher commission, or is he advising a product because it fits into the requirement of the customer? So, in a nutshell, I would say that while the regulator has tightened the regulations, but there is an immense opportunity opening up, because it's the same regulator who has also pushed the industry to do investor education. So one cannot blame the regulator for shrinkage of revenue.
Correct. The regulator is doing their job of protecting investors. For the mutual fund distribution community and the advisory community to grow and take the mutual fund industry forward in terms of AUM, what are the key attributes the advisors or distributors will need to grow their practices with?
The key attributes will be transparency and ethics, and that these two key attributes are there in any business, not necessarily only in distribution or in the mutual fund.
Right.
We were also to now say that even in distribution and advisory there is an element of fiduciary responsibility, because a customer or an investor comes to a distributor seeking advice, giving his hard-earned money with the hope and aspiration that it will grow to meet its goals, not invest in products which does not meet his risk appetite.
Right.
So it's a fiduciary responsibility now that the distributor and the advisor should understand and fulfill. Now, if the moment anybody understands what the fiduciary responsibility is, that's the key to success.
Right. But are distributors playing a role in investor education as well? Even advisors playing a role in investor education?
In fact, what was the scenario pre-2010 and what is now is totally different. There are distributors who are quite serious. Gone are the days where distributors had sort of recommended products with 8% and 10% commission. Because if a distributor or a partner feels that a product does not ethically should be part of anybody's investor portfolio, they are refraining even to recommend that kind of a portfolio with higher commissions.
Right.
So there is a lot of change happening in the fraternity, and it's happening for the better.
Okay, but you see need-based selling happening, or it's just based on the returns and stuff like that?
Returns are a criteria, because it's not that an investor approaches a distributor and distributor just pushes a product.
Right.
The distributors or the advisors have become quite savvy. They understand the portfolio, they try to understand the portfolio, they try to understand the style of fund management of the fund manager.
Right.
They try to understand the philosophy of the fund house.
Correct.
They try to understand that whether the returns are an overnight kind of a fly-by-night kind of a return, or it is a risk-adjusted return, stable return. A lot of questions are being asked by the advisors. A lot of questions are being asked and understood, not only by the advisors but also by the investors. So when the investors have also started asking these kind of questions, the advisor or the distributor fraternity has to improve their knowledge and communicate in a similar manner.
Interesting. Direct plans somehow are contributing around 12% right now of the total retail base, and HNI is about 29% of the HNIs are investing directly. Now, what's important is individual investors are holding a higher share of the industry assets. The retail base is higher for the equity segment, and even the B30 cities are contributing enough or participating in mutual funds, but most of their AUM is also coming through equity mutual funds. So how are advisors playing a role in advising these clients when they are investing in equity mutual funds?
Just go a 2 year backwards. What has happened in UK market? In the UK market, the regulator reduced the fees, came out with an advisory module. It was not easy for anybody and everybody to pay those kind of fees.
Right.
The retail investors were not in a position to get that kind of advice they needed. The HNIs obviously, or the affluent class, was in a position to get that kind of advice. So execution only or aggregator kind of platforms started coming up. Now these are platforms which don't charge a fee or charge a very negligible fee, and prompt the investor to invest on its own. Now here it is not investments, but it is equity trading. You can give a corollary of an equity trading.
Right.
In an equity trading environment, the platforms are there, and you trade, you buy and sell, and that's it. Nobody takes responsibility except you yourself why you have bought a particular script, or why you exited a script, or why you have traded. Now, is that mentality correct for a mutual fund investment? A mutual fund investment is not a short term or an overnight investment. It is for a long term.
Correct.
To meet a particular goal, to invest savings, hard-earned savings, and also to give a sense of protection in terms of growth of corpus. Here you need to do a little homework, understand the product, understand, as I earlier mentioned, the fund management style, your risk appetite, the fund's risk appetite, whether a long-term value fund is investing without following the concepts of value, or a multi-cap fund is investing or having a tilt towards mid-cap and small-cap.
Yes.
So all those questions or answers need to be seen. Now, these so-called aggregator platforms, while they provide ease of investing and they provide a snapshot of where you have invested, the look and feel is excellent, but what will you do with the look and feel? You ultimately need advice.
Right.
Unless you are quite tech savvy, you are financial savvy, you understand the nuances, you read through the fine print, and then you take a decision. Yes, there are investors who are savvy, who are financial savvy, who understand the nuances of investment, who understand why they are taking a decision. Yes, they are responsible investors. They take a responsibility and then invest.
Right.
But a lay investor or a middleman on the street, does he understand where his money is getting invested if he were to invest in a particular fund? Probably not. So here is where the advisor and a distributor fraternity comes into play. While you may end up paying a higher cost by weight of a higher TER, but there is some advice available vis-a-vis in a direct model where you will have to be on your own. While the fund house will help you, if you approach the fund house will help you understand, will give disclosures and be as transparent as possible. But it's upon your understanding and your appetite that and your risk that you are going to take that you will invest in. And if something goes wrong, yes, you can approach the fund house, you can redeem the units, but not necessarily that you may redeem the units at a profit.
Okay.
So
you are suggesting that regular plans are here to stay in a world where robo-advisory platforms today are offering direct plans?
Yes, regular plans are here to stay. Regular plans will find a flavor and favor of the investors, because in a regular plan there is a touch and feel, there is a human touch. The human touch is in terms of the advisor or a distributor whom you can go and speak to. In a technology based platform where there is no look and feel, there is just a screen in front of you where you have to do your own analysis, it's difficult. It's not that you are buying a smartphone, you are making an investment.
Right.
In a smartphone there may be cashbacks, but in a mutual fund investment there are no cashbacks.
Right.
So regular plan will survive, regular plan will succeed. Yes, there is a need to be transparent, there is a need to ensure that not high commissions push advisor to push you for investing in a product. There has to be ethics and fiduciary responsibility also, which is very core and critical to ensure that a regular plan succeed. If the distributors don't follow these two concepts, then regular plan will not survive.
So robo-advisory platforms are not disruptors for the IFA and the advisor?
These are not disruptors, they are on the contrary friends of the IFAs and the distributors. The robo-advisors, if the distributor embraces technology, he himself, just take a hypothetical scenario that a distributor has a website, builds a robo-advisor, asks risk-adjusted questions or understands the goal for which the investor wants to invest in, and doing some mathematical calculation, a particular investment model gets suggested by the system. But after that, what? After that, the advisor still has to handhold the customer, still has to ensure that the advice that the system, based on some mathematical calculation, has given actually meets the requirement of the customer. Robo-advisor is the first step. First step to help understand the risk of the customer, first step to understand the goals of the customer, first step to suggest a particular portfolio mix. It is not the ultimate end. The ultimate end is the human touch. And in an Indian environment where human touch plays a major role, they will survive. The advisors will survive. Robo-advisor will be there. It will be there. But for example, e-com, where we read every day that the e-com sites are becoming popular, they are attracting eyeballs, investors, they are giving cashbacks, etc., etc., etc. But nobody reads the fine print that the same e-com sites are equally opening physical shops. So including the leaders in the market. So in an Indian environment, both will coexist. And the best learning for an advisor would be to learn from an e-com site where they were popular, but how long they lasted. Now they are back to brick and mortar model. Probably brick and mortar model is not 100 square feet, but maybe a 25 square feet. But that still is a brick and mortar model.
But that said, technology will play a role of an enabler. Are advisors, distributors using technology, investing money in technology to take the business to the last mile? That's my last question.
Here, unfortunately, the answer is, while the advisors understand the need for technology, the partners understand that technology is an enabler, is not a disruptor. They understand that technology is their best friend, not an enemy. They understand that using technology they can serve a customer excellent, but where is the technology? The current technology that is available for IFA fraternity or distributor fraternity is quite costly. So each and every IFA, because of shrinking revenues, may not be in a position to embrace technology, even they want to embrace technology. So there is a good need for an aggregator kind of a model to come into existence, wherein all IFAs and all distributors can transact, can get advice, and facilitate investment of the investor, but routed through the distributor or the fraternity. Now that kind of a platform does exist in small bits and pieces, but it's not yet become extremely popular. And whatever platforms exist currently, the fraternity is also equally worried that today it might be free, tomorrow it might be costly. So the fate of the fraternity, partner fraternity, in these platforms also needs to be established. Because if today it is free, it has to be free. It cannot be a back-end charge levied over a period of time. So there is a need for a aggregator, a technology aggregator, who can provide, the needs or satisfy the needs of a distributor. And that's where we feel that through our Cosmos model, we may try to bridge it, not probably end to end, but in a small way.
So what are the tools you are offering in Cosmos for them to do business?
Currently the usual retirement tool, prediction tool, something, goal-based tools. We are working on a asset allocation model, probably in a month or two that should be available, where a customer, based on its risk and goals, will be in a position to understand the portfolio, and that portfolio will be available to the distributor, our partner distributors, and after that the distributor takes over. And we won't be storing any data, because data privacy is also equally critical. In a small way we are doing this. Based on more feedback that we keep receiving, we'll keep adding more tools and more facilities.
All right, Jimmy, thank you for sharing your valuable insights, and I'm sure the IFA community will benefit from it.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risk. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.